Hey everyone, so welcome back to another interesting webinar. Today it will be going to be interesting topics. So today we're gonna decode about GCCs. So every day morning when we sign up into professional, networking platforms or social media, we see a lot of buzz about GCCs, right? GCCs are coming, GCCs are setting up. There are interesting, events, webinars happening around GCCs and all those stuff. So today we have interesting panel with us. Our speakers Vishwanath Raju, who had TA operations for NSAR, Arun Prasad, who is talent acquisition for Flutter. So Arun and Vishwa will help us to decode what is GCC and what is the talent acquisition role in building GCCs. Okay. So welcome Vishwa, Arun. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving us time. And today, what we expect from you is to educate our audience about the GCCs, defining the GCCs, and the talent acquisition rule about this. Welcome again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hari. I think there is some latency issue from your side, or probably mine. I'm not very sure. You've been shaking.
Oh, is it? Okay. So,
Yeah, Vishwa, I'm not sure if you also feel that way.
No, I think I'm good, but then, yeah.
okay,
You're good.
sure.
Okay, maybe from my side. Yeah, be good. Yep. Good, Hari. You said that it's going to be interesting conversation. Let's leave that to the audience to figure out whether it's interesting or not. But I'm so excited to be part of this. Show, the live one, and thanks, Vishwa, for being part of this as well. I think I know you guys for so many years, and coming and speaking about the GCC and shaping up is going to really help, I believe.
Yeah,
Sure.
I echo Arun. Thanks, Hari. I think you and me, I think we were talking almost like 15 years now. I've seen the tremendous growth that you've seen in terms of technology adoption and all that stuff. I know I don't want everyone to kind of decode the age of Hari by whatever I just said and from a statement standpoint. So this is an interesting topic, Hari. I'm more than excited to kind of share some views that I would want to, and then I'm sure a lot of people will have a lot of questions. We'll be okay to kind of answer them. Thank you very much.
Sure, sure. So what we'll do is we'll keep first 45 minutes of our session and last 15 minutes being questions for audience. So my request to audience is to leave your questions in the comment section. We will pick the questions in the end of the session. Last 15 minutes will be for Q&A, but you can leave the questions there as the session progresses. So now let's start the session. The first question to Vishwa. So what is GCC is all about, right? So many companies are coming from across geos, EMEA, US, other parts of it, and they're setting up their operations in India, be it startup or established entities or offshore centers or tech services companies. So all these companies are coming and setting up operations in India, and this is not new. It is happening from from ages, right? At least in 2010, 2015, there was a lot of banking captives, healthcare captives have set up their operations in India. Is the captives a new GCCs, or is there any new GCC? The concept is evolving. What is GCC?
Okay, so I think it's important for me to kind of define what is GCC according to me. GCC stands for Global Capability Centers. So erstwhile, these GCCs were called as captives, and then I think a recent interim was it's something called as GIC, Global In-House Centers. Now it is
Yeah.
called as GCC, and I think it's an evolution journey that we are all going through. And I think your question also had a context of what is it different than offshore development centers. So I think GCCs are actually built in India, this part of the world, for two reasons. One is a scope and one is a purpose. Scope is obviously to look at how the larger organization can take advantage of talent and other resources, technology, and all that in this part of the world. In terms of purpose, is that they also need to have diversified work talent and all that across the world, kind of thing, right? On
Yeah.
the other hand, the offshore development centers are the ones who are actually picking up smaller portion of work of the larger company, and they are doing the work in India.
Mhm.
They can't typically called as GCCs because they're not solving the purpose or the scope of the work as we speak today. So I think 15, 20 years back, there were companies who were coming to India as part of GICs or GCCs. They had seen a lot of cost advantage earlier, but it is more value now, Hari and Arun,
Yes.
right? So today they're seeing value, they're seeing talent pool, they're seeing resources, they're seeing a lot of technological advancement that we are doing as we are a country, and they wanted to leverage that. So I think a true reflection of a GCC in India is nothing but the larger company in terms of technology, in terms of automation, everything that is happening in so-called part of the US or UK and anywhere. A true mature GCC is the one who's doing everything what they're doing in the back then in the US and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
that's my initial comment, and I definitely want to talk more on how this growth is happening in the last 5 years, 10 years down the line and all that, and how do we see the trends kind of coming in. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll come back to the topic. So Arun, your view about the GCC's growth, right? We keep reading about how the GCCs are growing in India. So why India? So what do you think that the GCCs are eyeing India? What are the
Great,
major
Hari.
top three?
Perfect. So, I mean, before I start, let me put some disclaimer also. It's important because all this information and that I'm going to share in the call is the perspective is accordingly to me and my experience and what I hear from, from the market and the GCC, some of those working in the GCCs as my friends. So let me put that across clear. Now, to answer your questions, I mean, the vision of 2030 that we speak about how the GCC is going to trend in the market and why India has been is one of the location have been chosen to build and set up the GCCs. We are talking about 110 billion GCC market size, right? And we're talking about another 4.9 billion roles coming up, million roles coming up to India. The reasons are pretty significant and clear. It's specifically for the talent pool. I think we have a larger talent market over here. One of the great thing is I think our English fluency is very good compared to many other European countries. The technical expertise, cost efficiency is there. We speak about cost, and the labor arbitrage, but I think that's getting transformed from what the cost optimization to a digital transformation, to an innovation and value-added operations. But still, those who are setting up for the first time as a GCC, cost efficiency still matters. Infrastructure for India, Spain, specifically Hyderabad, as a location, have been tremendous. And specifically the supportive government policies as well, right? The government policies have been so immense and very good from various other countries between US, UK, Europe, and other countries, even Asia Pacific as well, to think and set up the operations for India. The last I will probably think about is cultural diversity and adaptability. I think this location gives an ample, space to those owners of GCCs to set up or planning to set up in India, if that answers your question.
So is it fair to say that talent pool plays a major role, Vishwa, Arun, both?
It is.
Um,
It is
in,
first,
in
I would say.
I would say yes, but then I have an additional input about, for example, companies also would consider economic stability, government policies, business dynamics, and technology adoption in addition to talent availability. But your point is right, Hari. Talent availability becomes the primary, focus in terms of what we're doing today. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
and
okay.
even talking about building those 2,400 GCCs, right? That we are thinking about in 2030. What we are today is 1,500. I think most of them are hit the right nerves to bring, the GCCs in India because of the talent pool and cost efficiency. When they thought through, we are speaking about when banks started 10 years before, maybe a JP Morgan or a Bank of America 15 years before. Talent was the primary, decision making with the cost optimization efficiency, and then a lot more things got added. Today's world, we are talking about digital transformation innovation, right? So
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure. So my immediate thought is, if the talent pool is the major decision factor in setting up GCC in India, I'm little bit biased to our community. I come from a TA community, right? So the most majority of our audience is also from TA background. So is it fair to say that we have a lot to say in the GCC kind of a setup compared to normal setup? And when we say it's a talent acquisition, because we talk about what is the talent pool availability, market intelligence, and we as a talent ecosystem set up GCC for a success, right? How do you see the TA playing very strategic role in the GCC setup? Are we playing, or it's a normal any other setup kind of an environment? Arun, you want to take it first, and
Yeah,
then we'll go to.
absolutely, bang on. I'll probably give my the last 7 years of experience that I worked. GCC is very interesting. It's pretty fancy in my view, right? Because you'll be the first 5 employees will be joining in an organization which has already have thousands of employees across the world. Some of the global team members come to India to validate whether where to set up the office. So it's very fancy, very interesting to start with. And then the challenges come towards, for example, how Indian candidates or talent pool generally knows very specific names. We speak about Mang or the services organizations. Very few product organizations, they've been used to knowing very specific company names. But when something like Lloyd's Bank is setting up an office in India, many of the candidates who don't know what that bank is probably thought that Lloyd's is an air conditioned company. So that comes a natural problem statement, that how do you probably brand the organization? Hey, it's not an AC company, it's an investment bank or commercial banking organization. So the lot of problems comes with, and that's very interesting to kind of solve, from attracting talent perspective and building it from scratch, the policies, the procedures, what talent we need, tie up with the culture of the organization, which was never in culture that we have built, the new employee value proposition, a lot more things to work around when it comes to build the talent. So I feel it's very interesting and exciting, and I've been moving across the organization, at least in the last 3 companies have been on to the GCC side. So I feel it's very, very exciting.
I'll
Got it.
just add that to what Arun said. I think he was bang on. So I think your question is specific to TA community. A good GCC would look at 3 levels of expertise in a TA person, right? At level 0, we are talking about somebody who exactly understand the talent pool, where my talent lies, whether it is mean, mon, or whichever stack I'm talking about, technology, non-technology. At level 1, to the point that Arun mentioned, how do we brand, recruiting, marketing kind of thing. So somebody who can go into these portals and take out those CVs, that is 0. Number 1, we're talking about how do we market the role and all that, and how do we place the role in their head in terms of their mind share. Level 2, we are talking about somebody who can able to story tell about what is the growth story and how is it that they can actually look at their growth vis-a-vis the growth that they are seeing. At level 3 is where we would want a person to become consultant, right? A consultant, according to me, is that he or she can actually able to sell the role and job and also career, right? So we have to sell the career, and then that's when you become a very, very important person in the entire community. Best part is community will figure out who you are. You don't need to really reach out. If you are having all the 3 components with you, the community will figure out who you are, and then you have to just follow these basics. And obviously, as you will have more experience that you can come up with. But then these are the 3 things that GCC talent pool recruiters need to have from their existence standpoint. That's my view, Hari.
Yeah,
So little more deeper and straight, right? So it's okay to say no also, right? Who decides the first 50 hires? Do we have a say in that? That okay, we are from talent ecosystem, we know the market very well, and this is what we need to hire. The first 50 hires will come from here. These are the roles we need to do it. Do we have any kind of a say in that decision making process, or like any regular setup, we wait for a hiring manager to send the requisitions and job description to us, and we work backwards and we fill the positions kind of a thing? See, my question is very straight to the
yep.
community, that in the GCC, do we have a say of first 50 hires or 100 hires? Do we play a huge role in building the hiring culture?
I would
I'll
agree.
take
Yeah,
go
maybe
on.
Ashwishpa go first, and then Arun.
You okay? So I would agree. Yes, 100%. So you are the part of. I think I'm assuming when you're setting up a GCC, the first 10 hires will be from TA community, right? And you are the one who are setting up the culture and all that. So that is when these analytics tools, or these information from LinkedIn Talent Insights and all that will come into picture. You go with the talent slate of, okay, we are building a tech company as part of GCC growth in the next 6 months and all that. We are trying to hire 60 people in the next 2 months. I am assuming that with the skills that we are looking at, with the competencies that we're looking at, the talent pool is available in these 10 companies and all that. And these 10 companies will come up with a range of salary of 18 2 lakhs to 25 lakhs kind of a thing. And I presume that we need to be hiring from these talent pool, so that we have the highest amount of talent available for all these work that we are doing. So that is a consultative approach that recruiter has to do. And then I've seen that at least in the GCCs that we are actually building, we have a big say, but then that say has to be countered with a lot of data, why we are
Data,
saying
yeah.
what we are saying, all of that stuff. So I think there is a big say, Hari, and talent acquisition partner plays a big role in initially building the culture. We all have seen one bad hire can do what we can do. We don't know how to get there, but it's important that first 50 60 people, a big say of TA has to be there. Thanks, Hari. Arun, you can go
Got
on.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say yes and no in very straight terms. No seat on the table is when HRs are not hired first, and the business probably wants
Mm.
to hire their heads and directors and managing directors for a function. We don't play.
Yeah.
They probably hire somebody who is not culturally fit through. And recruiter who sits in some different location outside India, who doesn't understand the culture of India, what talent we bring. So that's totally
Mm.
no, right? A GCC would probably hire an HR.
Mm.
Recruiting person.
Yeah.
Did we lose Arun?
Yeah, I think we lost.
First, yeah, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Have I
Yeah.
lost?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah, you're back
I don't
now.
know how long you heard, but I said yes and no is
Yeah.
specifically not the seat on the table when HRs.
Yeah, I think we lost Arun again.
Okay, I think we are good. So that's what I said. So it's important for us to really say what we are saying. And I
Mm.
am a great fan of saying what we are saying with data. And I always understand that data says something, but analytics or insights is something that you need to cull out from the data that you're talking about. Because remember, you say what you are saying, and if they say okay with that, you are responsible to make it happen also. It's just
Yeah,
not
yeah.
about saying
Meaningful.
something.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Arun is back. So Arun,
I
I
mean,
have a question, right? So now let's say that you need to hire about first 50 hires or a 60 hires, whether you have a say, whether you don't have a say, that is a different story end of the day, right? But the first 50 hires you hire for a GCC will define the culture of the organization also, right? It starts with the
absolutely
hiring.
yes.
As a TA leader, you worked in different kind of setup, banking capital kind of setup in India, outside India, then gaming tech company. You have worked in different setups, right? So when you really go back to your drawing board of first 50, 60 hires, how do you strategize the whole hiring process or hiring thing for your team, right? How do you tell your team members that why these 50 hires are very important, and how do you tackle this hiring? Because the first 50 hires will predominantly decide whether they will be successful or not successful kind of thing. What is the things you do differently when it comes to the first 50, 60 hires?
Yeah, I think I'll go to the basic, Hari, because it doesn't start from just a talent acquisition. It doesn't end with talent acquisition leader in another way, right? It start with the managing director giving a script of what exactly needed for the organization, from building a culture, being a right EVP, what the job description is, what this role exactly they're looking for, how it is going to scale up, how it's going to transform into a different direction. The role is all this are going to be well written in our job description and the notes that we do. And
Yeah.
my responsibility or my strategy is to go to our recruiting managers, at that point in time, if probably we would have hired, or not, at least to the recruiters, and when we are building up those recruiting team with those first 50 hires, right? So ensure that it reaches to the recruiting managers, recruiters, sourcers, and even coordinators to speak. All of them speak the same language while we are attracting the candidates. It's so important that the recruiting pitch, and as well as some companies needed very specific data details driven. Every recruiter coordinator speaks about what's our top line, what's our revenue, what's our profit. That level of detailing knowledge is very important, and I ensure that our recruiters need to have that, right? It's gone those days, picking up a call or coordinator coordinating with the candidate, hey, when are you available? At that point in time, recruiter speaking about, hey, are you looking out for an opportunity? 8 months I'm in my current organization, Flutter. We've been doing this fantastically. I've been the first senior HR who joined here,
Yeah.
and rest of all the recruiters and senior recruiters and managers have joined. I speak the same script that the recruiter and coordinators speak, so which I feel is very important to start with.
Yeah, you're the first HR to join your organization. I'll come back to the other side of it. It's always good to have that first employee, but also it comes with a lot of challenges and issues you need to figure out while building GCC, right? So I'll come back to that question later. But from a delivery perspective, Vishwa, right? So I'm a recruiter, right? I know, and you also, right? You worked in a different setups, and I worked in a different setups and all those stuff. When a recruiter who is part of delivery center who is supporting multiple GCCs, now the multiple GCCs has a multiple hiring culture, and they have a different set of expectations, right? Different. Now, being a TA person from a delivery standpoint here, how do you align yourself to meeting those expectations, aligning to those GCC expectations, and what is that? It is a consulting approach the recruiter needs to bring in, but at the same time, just not a consulting skills, right? You need to manage the multiple GCC expectations, multiple stakeholders. As a recruiter, when I was a recruiter, also managing the multiple stakeholders within the organization itself is a very challenging one. Now, this recruiter, from a delivery perspective, is managing the multiple GCC with the multiple domains, multiple industries, multiple expectations, right? So, how do you ensure, as an industry person, what advice you want to give to the recruiters, that how do they handle this multiple set of customer expectations?
So I think what I feel is that there is something called as client discovery, and followed by, I'll talk about each of them in length, followed by intake, design, and setup, followed by delivery. In the client discovery phase, I think recruiter needs to just unlearn a lot of things that he or she has understood from a company A, and then when the person is moving to company B, start from the culture, start from the talent landscape, start about understanding what they do and why they are coming to India, what is their demand plan, how do they want to look at talent arbitrage, cost arbitrage, and all that stuff, what kind of talent needs they have, and what kind of skills that is translating to, and most importantly, how soon they want to do that kind of a thing. Once they have that, we call it as client discovery process. We understand that, and we actually create a very good preempt of EVP is what we call. And then we
Hmm.
get into intake, design, and setup. Intake, design, and setup is similar to what we do with intake, hiring manager kind of a this thing. So that is when you understand the culture of a hiring manager to be hiring manager culture, the way they would want to look at stakeholder management, the way, and reporting actually plays a big role. I'm using a very reporting, but then analytics will come from reporting, right? So how do they want to look at it and all that? How do they want to measure the success of that particular? See, when you're talking about GCC is talking about 100 people, but then this 100 roles are bifurcated across 10 hiring managers. Each one of them will have a different success metrics that they will look at it, right? So how are they aligned to the org philosophy of, okay, I would want to do it in 45 days, and our organization philosophy says that it has to be 45 days. What should be the gender diversity mix? How should we look at talent in terms of different diversity from different industries and all that? All of that will be part of intake design kind of a discussion, and then we get into the delivery mode. In delivery mode, when we are doing those delivery activities, we always come back to our initial program guide, which talked about what did we say and how are we doing. And we have a very interesting way of looking at our success of our project in terms of analytics and all that. And most of these are Power BI dashboards, which can talk about our success. And insights is what we cull out of that dashboards and talk about how are we successful. In some cases we will not be, but then we know the reason. In some cases we are extremely doing good, and we also wanted to accelerate kind of a thing. So that's the role of a recruiter, and starting with client discovery to intake design, setup, and delivery. It's just not delivery directly, Hari. That will actually it will not make them to be succeeded as far as the program concerned, but then intake design, setup, and then the client discovery is major important point. Thank you.
Got it. Got it. So Arun, right? So I don't know whether by choice or by luck it happened. You've been always a GCC guy, right? So when last 12 years setting up GCCs, working in a GCC setup and all this stuff, right? So overall, to summarize your experience, what are the three pros and three cons as a talent acquisition leader working in a GCC setup?
Okay. Very interesting that way. But no, it is not a luck. It is a choice, I would say, that I've picked up these companies.
And that's nice.
But very, no, it's interesting because where there is a challenge, there is there is a lot of interest that comes in me. Opportunities comes in me, right? See, I mean, I would probably talk about pros. Pros is when GCC is getting set up in India, they would obviously need some consulting companies, probably Answer or Zinnov or SMC Squared or probably Big Fours. They are the ones who understand the market, the dynamics, the laws and regulations, and so many other factors. Even the entities and all stuff, how to set up and all stuff. So we certainly need their support. I think their support have been tremendous when it comes for overall understanding the design perspective or discovery perspective and all stuff, and then it transformed to getting that first 50 hires. That's very positive because they generally are there in the first 10 hires to transform, decode what is required, what is not required. They go hand in hand with the business leaders. That's very positive. And then they're also there across to give consulting suggestions of their experience setting up various other GCCs across India, if they have, in what works best and what not works best, and we probably avoid those what it never worked because of various reasons in hiring talents or in probably building up policies. They've been there everywhere, which is all positive pros. Now, if I have to take cons, how sustainable it is from what they left from a transformation or transition perspective, from where they left to how a head of talent acquisition leader takes up. So I'll give you maybe a couple of instances in my previous organizations where it has, went a little reworking for us. When to begin with, when we started creating a job description, because most of here are recruiters. So let me go not to the EVP or a core values, but let me start with a recruitment related, a job description, right? A job description was created basis what a consulting organization felt it is right from an India hiring perspective. It was not looked upon how the organization is setting up their culture, how the organization is setting up their core values specifically for that particular location in India. It was kind of a global job description, and it was never spoken or never went to the hiring manager to discuss in depth. So what happened was, they set up those job descriptions to us. We started when this transition happened between 3 to 6 months time. We started going on to find out the candidates from the market. And when we had the job briefing discussion with the hiring managers, they felt that this job description is the basic that we are looking for, but we're looking for furthermore in a candidate. We're looking for 15 years experience, not 5 years. We're looking for somebody with a leadership experience with 15 people managing, not 5 people. So these misalignments were there just starting with the job description. Then as the job description was misaligned, the compensation leveling and benchmark also misaligned, because the compensation benchmarking happened with the job description basis that experience. So what happened was, as a cons, as a talent acquisition leader, I took a step back and I have to redo entire stuff of creating a job description which is very relevant to the values of the organization and what is required from from what we are looking for filling up the role in India, and then go back to the leveling, which is
Yeah.
the compensation benchmarking, asking for the right compensation for it, and then going on speaking with the hiring managers and telling them that we are going to build in this kind of a kind. So it's too much of to and fro. I think
Yeah.
these are some of the things that probably we could. I don't know it's there is a solution to avoid, but one size doesn't fit all. Some of the consulting companies
Yeah.
need to understand that how probably spend a lot of time to understand the culture and core values and employee value proposition much rather than just building those packs for us. It's just a rework for us, to be very frank.
Got it. Got it. So from Vishwa, right? So from an industry person, you've been a lot of people follow you for a lot of insights you share on LinkedIn, etc. Now, the question to you is about, you have been following this GCC, the progress much closer than anyone else, right? So how do you see in next 5 years, whatever the metrics, whatever the analytics we are talking about, that these many companies, millions of roles get created, billions of revenue and all those stuff, right? From a talent acquisition perspective, what is your message to talent acquisition ecosystem, that if a recruiter wants to build their career in GCC kind of a setup, on either from a delivery setup or the customer setup perspective, what do you advise? What is that they need to learn, unlearn, and be ready for this massive growth?
Okay, so I'll define the growth now. I think it's important to understand. One of the business standard report talked about having close to 2,500 kind of GCCs by 2030. And if you look at the CAGR kind of a number, it's actually 50% straight away, right? So next 5 years belongs to GCC according to me. And this is
Mhm.
my personal opinion.
Okay.
What does it mean is, you know the future, and I think I'll make a very interesting statement. If you know the future, why are you not in the future, right? So that is where I think recruiters need to look at their elements in understanding. First of all, they need to understand how GCC functions. They need to understand, okay, in the GCC that they're functioning or they're talking about, how recruiting function works. And in the recruiting function, what are those metrics that are very important, which are very, very run on the mill. But then most importantly, last 5 years have been looking at experience. I think Arun spoke about it, right? So if you feel that you have done the job on time and you've made an offer within 45 days, but then both your hiring manager and your candidate both are not happy, they're not giving you great feedback, I think you lost the candidate already, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
efficiency metrics, effectiveness metrics, and experience metrics, these are the three metrics that you should be extremely careful about. You need to have data in terms of how do we measure them and how do
Mm.
we ensure that we actually do better than that. So if you have a 4.5 out of 5, there are two ways to look at it, right? So my hiring manager gave me 4.5 out of 5, I'm very happy. The another way of looking at it is, why is that the 10 hiring managers have not given me good this thing? Is it perception issue, or is it because what they felt was different kind of thing? That's where you need to look at. So giving a 99 is good, but then why is that 1% is not good is what you need to look at. I'll also bring in technology, right? So gone are those days where people will say that, okay, you're a recruiter, you will have to fill 5 roles and all that. You can challenge the status quo and say that I will do 50 roles and I will create value for this organization. This is how I'll do, and you will be actually picked up, right? When GCCs are getting set up, right? So they do not look at run on the mill kind of recruiting team. They wanted consultant. They want people to tell the story. They want to tell all of that stuff, right? So I think I have learned this hard way. Don't want all the recruiters to learn this hard way. Storytelling, right? How can you sell the story? How can you talk about yourself? How can you, and obviously talking in genuine rather, right? It's not about talking anything that you don't know, kind of thing. I think these are the three things. I'll go back to the point of efficiency, effectiveness, and experience metrics.
Okay.
Please ensure that we measure that, we sustain, and we ensure that we actually make it better than what is yesterday. Your today's profile in terms of your knowledge has to be better than yesterday, and how is that you can measure that, what is that you would want to do. And there are a lot of mentoring platforms. In fact, me and Arun kind of mentor a lot of recruiters who come on our way and ask them this interesting question and all that. So
Mhm.
don't look at only internal. There are a lot of external people who are genuinely interested to help you. Like for example, Hari, if somebody comes and asks you something, you're more than happy to answer that. Right. So I think that is what I feel. The generation, the next 5 years belongs to us. If you have to be in that, pool, I think we have to challenge ourselves every day. Thank you.
So recruiters who are listening to this, right, reach out to Arun and Vishwa for mentorship. If you want to build your career in GCC, they will help you.
Love to. And Hari, if I can also
So
have a view,
I'll get those things. Yeah,
or if you don't
yeah.
mind, I also
Please,
have a
Arun.
view on this question, right? How to build the GCC, with my experience in the last few years. The recruiters here, if at all they join the call, are probably looking at later this live. Unsettling is a word that I would probably use, right? Because, any GCC that you join, they don't come up with a plan for the next 3 years. They don't, right? If they say that they have a plan for next 3 years to build, and from a day one to a day 1,000, it is going to be like that. That's a false statement. uh, One is unsettling. Second is, a lot of transformations will happen every month. Things will change, right? The change management goes on endless, till the consulting company completes, and then talent acquisition leader and managing directors of the organization takes up. It goes on unsettling, and you will probably see a lot of changes happening within the organization, from a policy to a process to additional to the core values, additional to the something and other stuff. So be very much unsettling. Be ready to have the change management mindset. If you are a recruiter who probably wants a very settled job, where 5 role comes and you probably want to close, I don't think GCC is coming forward. Going forward, GCCs is the right option for you. So
Yeah.
avoid GCC if you're not an unsettling recruiter. You should be, you can't be cautious over here, and you should today it will be very different conversation. Tomorrow it will be completely different conversation. And your mindset should be ready to prepare those, those conversations, and ensure that you're also coming up with a proper solution, which may work, which may not. Maybe it will change again tomorrow. So that's very important, I believe, in the recruiter to have a
Agility.
career. GCC. Agility, yes, that's the right word.
So Vishwa mentioned run on the mill team doesn't cut for GCCs, right? And you also mentioned about certain aspects about TA teams efficiency in building GCCs. Now there is a company culture, then there's a team culture, right? So my question to you, Arun, is how are you building your winning recruitment team to make sure that your GCC is set up for success or your stakeholders for success? And do you have any mission statement for your team? If yes, what it is? And I'm not talking about particular Flutter or anything like that, but in the overall industry perspective, when if I'm a TA leader, I'm joining a GCC, right? So I don't have an experience in setting up GCC. What is that one thing which TA leader need to work upon in building their own hiring team, their recruitment team, and what should be the culture of that recruitment team to set up this for success?
Yeah, I mean, it's that vision statement. I don't think so. It is much different from one company to another, or GCC to a different
Sure.
company, right? So it's specifically on how you kind of how the talent acquisition aligns to the company's strategy, company's core values. That's the basic
Got it.
stuff, and that should remain. And now, how the recruiters probably need to, or probably how I want to build the recruiters is, the skills and experience. As Vishwa rightly said, gone those days. The recruiters need to be relevant for today or for tomorrow, rather than today, is very, very important. And what's coming for the future, them to know, rather than what has gone in the past, is something very different that they need to learn from what it is. A lot of tools and technologies, are available in AI, and I feel I mean, some of the recruiters that I met recently that I'm kind of coaching and training, they haven't been, though ChatGPT came in a year and a half, they haven't been using ChatGPT yet, or a Gemini yet, or some of the tools that is, powering up the technology tools. I think, those recruiters, unless they start training themselves, and understanding how those AI tools work, they will be completely left behind, even from not GCC, but even from some of the organization who want to get into technology as the primary staff. So I think being relevant, being furthermore relevant is very important. Focus on skills, learn some of the aspects, do that, day-to-day basis. When you have time, if you have a 9 hours work, go on the 10th hour, just 1 hour you spend on how the AI can be used for recruiting and talent acquisition, all this on your own experience. I do it, I challenge my team, and my team challenges me even today, and even in the past organizations, what tools and technologies you have built. I think these are some of the questions that we need to ask, how relevant we are. That answers.
So
Yeah,
other
if I
than
can
three
add.
E's which were mentioned, yeah, Vishwa, I'm coming to you. So other than the three E's you mentioned before, I think there is a T factor. The technology factor plays a
Yeah,
major
yeah,
role to make you successful.
yeah. So I'll just
Absolutely.
go back to what Arun mentioned. I think he made a very interesting point. I think the mission statement question that you asked, Hari. I used to work for this company called Honeywell. I worked for that company for almost 6 years, and this happened to be my first corporate career. And you know what? The building that we were part of, the entire HR community used to be part of that building, and
Mm.
the building had a entrance which had a door, and then beyond the door it says that walk the most competent and disciplined professionals in the world, right? And I went to the CEO, and we had a CEO open hall kind of this thing. And I asked him, so what do you mean? So he said, we cannot be competent in day one, we cannot be disciplined in day one, but it's a journey. So he
Mm.
said that we have to be more competent, more disciplined every day, and that is the only way you can actually get into the next level. So coming back to this recruiter question on that, and three E's are different important, and then Arun spoke about technology, and you also touched upon technology. But according to me, there are four things. Hari. One is future skills, functional skills, critical skills, and social skills that I look at in recruiter. In future
Mm.
skills, I would want him or her to use. I think Arun spoke about Gen AI tools like ChatGPT. Did they use ChatGPT to solve their problem? Whether they
Mm.
got the solution or not is a different story, right? And did they
Mm.
use Metaverse? Do they know what Metaverse can do? They are not using Metaverse in the current recruiting framework, fine. But do they know that Mahindra as a company is using Metaverse? Do they know that kind of thing? Do they
Mm.
know that they can use a chatbot kind of thing? All that is a future skills according to me.
Mm.
Functional skills, importantly, I know you guys will add some more stakeholder management, right? Stakeholder management, design thinking, all of that is what I, and then agile and all that is what I call. Then
Yeah.
I talk about social skills. So social skills, I asked this interesting question, Hari, in my interviews when I asked them, when was the last time when you went to a meetup? When was the last time when you attended a webinar? If the guy says that it's been 6 months, then I feel that he is not socially connecting with people and all that stuff. It's not
Mm.
wrong with them, but then that's what my feel is. And
Mm.
CSR kind of thing. And last is critical skills. Here I talk about critical thinking, analytical thinking, and all that stuff. So functionally I know that people can be trained on how to use x-ray search and all that, but if these four things are not available, it doesn't work that way. It has to be like you have to be a great recruiter with all these skills and technology, right? We are asking them to be functionally knowing the technology, not technically knowing the technology. We don't want them to understand how the algorithm works. We want them to understand, for this problem statement, what kind of algorithm needs to be created. Technical guys will create that for you. So these are the inputs from my side, Hari. Thank you.
Got it. Got it. So now we'll move to the Q&A. I think let's have our answers very crisp and short so that we can take more questions. The first question from Jay Termela, actually this is one of my question as well. How do you measure the success of GC setup? If you look backwards after 1 year or something like that, right? Is it only filling the bodies, or is there any other success metrics which is associate to say that okay, we have successfully built it? Is there any smart goals or success metrics for a GC setup? And do you give a 3-year timeline to assess it? So I will reframe it. What is the timeline? to measure the success actually?
I'll take that, Arun. So
Okay.
basically, uh, Hari, there is no maturity model which is defining the success of a GCC today. Today, at least, there are no models which can say that you are a successful GCC today. But then
Mm-hmm.
there is an enterprise maturity model, which is there. Gartner talks about it and all that.
Okay.
According to that framework, if I feel that almost everything that your headquarters is doing, if you're able to do 85% of that in terms of technology, people, culture, everything, I think you're somewhere there. So you have started with technology, did some IT jobs initially, then you got finance jobs, you got HR shared services job, now you're talking about supply chain. You're kind of replicating the large company to this company, and you might be 100 here, there might be 1,000 here, but then these 100 people are doing the 1,000 kind of people there. It's a wonderful way of saying that we are kind of matured and all that stuff, right? Now there is a I think in my previous organization we used to call as team extension model, right? So every role, every
Mm-hmm.
project used to have 10 people, and 10 people, 6 people in the US, 4 people in India, and another 4 or 2 or 3 people in the UK. All of these 10 people can do a BCP along with them. That is one way of saying matured, this thing. The third way of saying matured is that if we are able to do quicker, faster than the larger organization, right? And we are able to save a lot of money to the larger organization, I think we are kind of matured. So there are different models in way maturity can be looked at. I have not come across a model which says that, hey, this is a great level 5 matured company. And it is doing that, and then I see Gartner's report and all that, but it doesn't talk about that. Maybe my knowledge is limited to that extent, but then I have not seen any maturity kind of a model which is there in this thing. A lot of companies are doing that. In fact, we are also thinking about in that direction. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll
Okay, so let
probably
me
pick
a
up
little
in.
bit refine it for Arun. Yeah, Arun. So I'll
Yeah,
refine
Arun, if
it
you
for
can.
you, right? What is this
Yeah.
success metrics for TA organization at least? I understand in the GCC setup, how do you measure the success of TA team in a GCC setup?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably put across into 2 to 3 areas. One, what are those center of excellences we have established in the center, in the country or in the locations, right? For example, there might be a team of artificial intelligence, there might be a team of engineering, cloud computing, maybe operations, legal, marketing, procurement. It's not the number of people that we have established, but our success defines that how, or probably my success defines that how I successfully implemented or brought those center of excellence teams in the location. That defines the success or probably the metrics. Second is obviously the cost efficiency, right? And that's
Yeah,
primary part still. We need to have another 5 years to kind of say at least in 2030 that we are an innovative capability center, right? So
yeah,
cost
yeah,
efficiency still is considered on the metrics. And third
yeah,
is the quality of the talent pool, right? So as we said, the first 50, I would agree with the first 50, but can I will also agree with another 5,000 employees from 50 to 5,000 that we have built.
yeah.
How exactly their quality of quality of hire has been. Those are the metrics that I would probably look at, if that answers.
Yeah.
Got it. So another question, Vishwa, you may want to take this. How do GCCs contribute to the overall talent development and retention strategies within multinational organization? Question from Manish Verma.
Okay. I know Manish. Who is he? So I
Mhm.
think it's. I don't want to bifurcate GCC versus any other tech company. Every
Mhm.
company would want to build their talent. Every company would want to ensure that the talent stays with them and all that. So
Mhm.
success, if you are looking at, I think it's, are you able to do, if being a software engineer, if you have taken X number of hours to do something, if you're doing Y and Y is smaller than X, that's one way of looking at it. Is your technology operations that the way they're looking at it, if it takes 10 days to do a specific task, if it is done in 7 days, that's one way of looking at it. The
Mhm.
experience of customer who is using your technology, at the end of the day, a typical GCC will do something for from a technology standpoint for the end customer, right? So the
Mhm.
end customer is actually getting an input faster, smarter, and all. That's one way of looking at it. Your talent is staying within the organization for more than 3 to 4 years. That is one way of looking at it. Your Gallup surveys, and I'm sure while I'm a great fan of surveys, but then it also talks about the hindsight of it. If the survey says that your employees are very happy, they're not leaving you just like that, that's one way of looking at it. Last but not the least, how is that you're doing talent landscape in terms of future skilling, right? So is your LND or LNLD is what we call that in the industry today. How strong is your LND team? How are you making sure that your talent pool is always ahead of curve? How are you looking at managing those talent which is not relevant in the current scheme of things, but then with an adjacent knowledge transfer that they can go through, they can actually get into a mainstream of activity in terms of skilling. So that's what one way of looking at it. There are multiple as we speak, but then good organization, I've always seen that employees would want to stay because they feel they have a great mentor, they have a great learning ecosystem, and the kind of work that they're doing is very challenging. These are the three broader aspects according to me, Hari. Thank you.
Okay. To extension to this question, right? So back then when I worked in captives, the major motto of getting captives in India was to take the work from the vendors or partners or other consulting firms who were working, and they wanted to take that work and do it in house, kind of a thing. That was the broader vision or a mission to start a center in India, and I was part of that kind of setup also. So there's nothing wrong in it. But now, back then, now there's a 10 to 12 years, and if the GCs are coming mostly from a talent pool, is it because of the quality of work, or it's just an outsourcing, take the outsourcing work back and get the things done in house? Are any specific R&D work? One of the question I've seen from some of the audience also, are they coming up with an R&D work, or it's only cost and the talent which is cheaper is still relevant there, or is anything changed right now? Arun, you may want to take that.
Yeah, I think we are matured from there. 10 years before, it was all on cost. I remember when one of the GCC that I was part of, they were discussing only cost, not the talent or not the R&D or transformation or innovation. Now it's changed, Hari. The last 10 years, or at least in the last 1 to 2 years, the GCCs come to India for a talent, and that's why I said, when we started this discussion, the talent pool was the first aspect. And trust me, in next 5 to 7 years, we will probably stop speaking about cost arbitrage. We would probably pay the same salary if somebody sits in UK gets in Indian currency to a conversion, but the talent makes everything profit over here. So I would probably raise my hand up to the moon, saying that the talent defines everything over bringing the GCCs to India.
Got it. And what are the top 3 use cases you are using AI tools for a GCC hiring? So where is that you are leveraging them? So let's say that where is that you are using the technology?
I'll take that up question, because again, GCCs, again, what I understand is when they start the GCCs, not those who've been there for 10 to 15 years. Because if for example, I have an experience of starting, I'm the only senior HR at this point in time. We are building up our teams, the first 50, first 100. Our major concern is on the branding side, because not many people will know Flutter as an organization, or probably think Flutter is an technology API. It's not. It's an entertainment domain. So I need to build from scratch. When I'm building from scratch, I speak about how I can personalize the communication when it comes for sending out just even a simple interview confirmation emails or a status of the application. Though we have a beautiful tool, how I can do very personalized way, how I can build in chatbots for initial queries, how I can build in a very different video interviewing tool which has AR VR experience. So I would probably say these are the three or four I'm trying to enhancing the candidate experience is very, very important to have candidates understand what the business we are, and probably word of mouth, it goes to many other candidates to apply for. So these are use cases that I work, but this is just a start. I've been here at least in Flutter for the last 7 months, so many more years to go to kind of figure out what it works from the change management perspective.
So question to you, Vishwa, the same question. What are the top 3 use cases you are using AI tools for GCC hiring?
So I'll
Use
go back.
cases. Don't mention the tools, just a use cases.
So obviously, the AR VR, I think it was stolen by Arun. I think that was one which is actually extension of metaverse. Second is heavy use of chatbots is what we are seeing, not only for screening but also initial interviews. And I'm a great fan of JDs as such, because that's the first point of connection with the employees or the people. So I have come across interesting tools who are actually making the JDs so wonderful. Obviously, gender bias, gender neutralization, all those techniques are coming in using NLP technologies. So I think these are the three things which are really well. And the third one is more of Gen AI based, but then JD elevation tools, chatbots, and then obviously AR, VR, extension of metaverse. These are the three tools that I'm seeing. Not every company is using that, but then as an individual, you need to understand what is that and how is it used. You may not use it, but then at least when the company is actually hiring using those technologies, you are not left behind, according to me. Thank you.
Got it. So now that GCCs also compete with startups and other ecosystem also, right? So the question, one of the user questions, Sridhar Kamath, retaining skilled professional in GCCs can be a challenge. Yeah, so obviously, right? So there's a lot of competition from the startups and all. So how do you deal with it? And I'll ask Arun, right? How are you prepared for this, right? What is that you're doing to
That's
um,
That is a good question because retaining skilled professional in just not a problem with GCC but for every company, right? Even somebody who owns the 5 employee company or to a 50,000 employee company, retaining professionals are always a concern. I think I'll now speak about the core values and the employee value proposition. Really,
Mm,
we need to cultivate a very positive and collaborative work environment. Employees need to feel valued, they need to feel appreciated in working in the organization. That's very important, right? Very basic, but it makes so much of different sense for a company who achieves this kind of a status, really, from a very positive work environment. And we need to give a lot of growth opportunities. Now, one is that GCCs are coming and setting up because employees may work from the specific location, as gone those cost center to a profit center. So India can become tomorrow a profit center. We don't discuss about a cost unit, but a very strategic business unit over. So how do we convert those opportunities within the location of within India, within wherever they are, and provide those opportunities for very strong professional development and career advancement. Those two are, for me, standing still very strong. And then comes your feedbacks, your mentorship programs and all stuff. But positive work environment and growth opportunities, I think, still needs to stand, irrespective of GCC or any other organization, to retain top talents.
So retention and development is discussed at a hiring manager intake meeting before they hire. How do we do it? For what role we are doing, what is the career growth, and what is that we need to do, or is it like let's hire and then we'll focus on the development and retention later, so one step at a
It
time?
doesn't
How?
work that way.
Doesn't work
Yeah,
that
Hari,
way.
it doesn't work that way, Hari. I think we need
Mhm.
to, I mean, when we are hiring the leaders, the first 50 at least in the organization, the first thing that we probably need to, I mean, the leader, the managing director or an CEO of the organization need to figure out what the CEO need to do in the next 2 to 3 years, how the person will make a relevant fit for the role and grow further. That's how we look at it. And then comes to every employee to look at, that way. So it's not the other way that you say. It has to be planned well. Whoever those first 10 people have joined at a leadership level, they need to kind of build in the right strategies to build the rest of the 500,000 people coming in. Yeah.
No, got it.
So
So
Hari, I will
usually,
answer that
yeah,
retaining
yeah,
skill question. I think
yeah.
today, tell me how many organizations have analytics to understand how many of them are really skilled employees today.
Mm, mm,
Today, we don't have that systems available in many
mm,
companies. So I think retention comes later. You need to identify who is the talent. The
mm,
moment when the organization ecosystem has identifying a solution, retention becomes easy, right? There are three types of people, right? One, obviously, they would want a vertical growth. You can give them vertical growth depending upon. There are people who are looking at horizontal growth. There are people who are looking at diagonal growth. They wanted some bit of promotion also, but then want to get into another. So if an organization has a really interesting skill taxonomy kind of a framework where they exactly know what the skill is of this person and how much of that is really really relevant to the current context and all that, and that's how it makes it to be a good employee for the organization. And automatically this skill analysis will actually dovetail into the opportunities available, right? There is the applicant tracking
Got
system is connected with that, and then you can see that. And I know that there are 10 companies that I can't mention the name of the companies. If I'm a a full stack developer, if I know a little bit of Python additionally, then I can work on a Python project and another project where I can also get compensated at an additional salary, but then I can also make what is it called, career into that,
it.
right?
Got
So there are companies who are doing that. So I think it's important to first identify your talent, how are they placed and all that, according to your own organization structure in terms of capabilities. And then once you identify, automatically you will take care of retaining them. That's my view, Hari. Thank you.
Got it. So it's wonderful listening to both of you. Thank you so much. I think the biggest confusion of what is GCC has been answered today. And what I can conclude is GCC offer much more mature model for talent acquisition ecosystem. And there's a lot of things to offer compared to the normal setup, be it in a consultant skills or technology or they say on the table, etc. I think thank you so much, and I think the audience today, whoever has attended or who have not attended, we will share the videos. But I think it's a very good educative session where people are educated about the processes, tools, technologies, how the GCCs operate. Thank you so much. Thanks, Vishwa. Thanks, Arun, and thank you everyone for attending the webinar. I'll see you soon on the next.
Thank you, Hari. Thanks,
Thank you, Hari.
everyone,
Thanks,
for
Arun.
joining this session. Thank you. Bye bye. Yeah.
Take care, guys.